Joined by the public advocate from New York City, Letitia James, who
CUNY
is always at SOMOS. It's
Yes.
great to see you here.
Nice to see you as well.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How you doing? Enjoying yourself so far?
I'm having a great time. I've been doing this for 15 years. So
15
this is old hat.
It's old.
I used to work here. I worked here for 10 years.
Do you feel like there's a sense that things are changing with SOMOS? Do you think it's becoming more focused on issues? Because I know there was the stigma a long time ago that it was just a junket, more so in Puerto Rico, but even the Albany conference, I didn't see as many people up in the Albany conference as you do kind of in the last couple of years.
So I was a staff member here and coordinated the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus for a number of years. And I remember when they started SOMOS, I was there. I was in the room. And so, you know, everything is an evolution. Just like the Black, Puerto Rican, and now it's Asian and Hispanic caucus is growing, SOMOS as well. But they raised some substantive issues. We've got to continue to focus on an agenda, a legislative agenda, and it's important that we understand that the legislative agenda and the caucus agenda, both SOMOS and the Black agenda, are inextricably tied to one another, and we have consistently talked about it tying to the budget. And so I know that there will be a panel discussion on the budget, and that's why the workshops are so important. And I think people need to understand, yes, there's a lot of receptions, but it's all tied, all connected to what they do during the legislative session.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that Letitia James, public advocate, who's joining us here at City and State TV and the live streaming that we're doing from the conference. You mentioned that, and I think it's important to realize, I was talking to the new chair of SOMOS and of the Hispanic Task Force, that he focused, there's only 7 workshops, 7-week workshops, and he told me that he wanted to focus on that. He even wanted to do a plenary. He says he wasn't able because he just took over the conference. But he says that his focus is to be able to come out with pieces. He said, I didn't do the plenary because then we would have to act on it. So there is a deliberate thinking out of what the process is. Marcos Crespos is young. I think he's going to do well. He seems to be respecting the past, but moving on into the future. So it, you know, I've criticized this conference forever since it started. Sometimes, and but the fact is that there is some encouragement here that I see, some positive things, and you got to give them a break. Just like with the speaker, Kyle Hasty, and you know the process up here. It can really get lost. You're so far away.
That's right.
People don't understand the process. Sometimes I think the legislators don't even know what's going to happen with the budget, which is coming up April 1st. You mentioned the monies, the city, the concerns that we have from New York City, where we come from the 5 boroughs that seem to demand a lot. Are we right now, the way the budget is going, is the governor of all people really understanding the one issue that we're concerned about, mainly above everything else, is education? I mean, we're concerned about security and all that. What's your take on that, you know, knowing what the process is here?
So you all know that New York City is a creature of the state, and so we've got to wait until they pass their budget before we begin negotiations. And I have been very visible and very open. The attack on teachers is unwarranted. As opposed to focusing and scapegoating teachers, we should focus on poverty and income inequality. And the end, I believe that the governor should take a page from President Obama, focus on student debt, focus on tuition for CUNY students and SUNY students, focus on the need for public education. We need to provide infrastructure, because a lot of the students that are here today, CUNY and SUNY students, they want the same things that I wanted when I was their age. And that is an affordable education. They want opportunities and a pathway to the middle class, and that's really critically important. And to criticize teachers, I think, is unfounded. When you open a school door, you close a prison door. And I am here today, someone who was born into welfare, with 7 sisters and brothers, some who made it and some who didn't, because of a teacher and because of CUNY. And that's why I will vigorously defend public education and my CUNY students and my SUNY students. They're the key to tomorrow and the key to the future, and they're the key to the success of the state and the city.
Is the governor not understanding that that's so basic and passionate at the same time.
I think he understands it, but we've got to continue to keep the pressure on him, which is why I'm so glad that there are so many students here today, my CUNY students and my SUNY students, and I, as the citywide elected official, again, have to keep the pressure and is joining with the speaker and joining with countless others to keep the pressure on the governor. And I'm so glad and inspired by the comments of the Chair Crespos, who is a visionary. He's a great leader, as well as Speaker Hasty. The comments that they made this morning are inspiring. And so, Assembly, I say to the New York State Assembly, hold on, we've got your back.
Is there an argument that, I mean, the education gap between rich schools, suburban schools, poor schools is vast. And I think that the conversation always comes down to poor schools needing more money, but the money they need is not necessarily for education, it's to essentially bridge the social gap in a lot of ways too. I mean, meals for kids, making sure they have, you know, safe places to go home to or places to go to after school. Right. Do you think there's maybe a way that instead of the fight over education, there's a way you can support these communities in other ways that would then raise the education
level?
So,
as you know, I just held 5 forums in the city of New York in each borough regarding mayoral control, and people came out in the snowstorm because they were really committed and they're passionate about education. And what they said to me is, Tish, we're owed money under the Campaign for Fiscal Equity. Right. 2, we need classrooms, smaller classroom size, from the Bronx to Staten Island to Brooklyn to Manhattan and Queens. Populations are growing, they're exploding. In Queens, they were telling me about classroom sizes at 30 and 40 students. We need to reduce classroom size. But they also told me we need more arts, and we need more culture, we need more STEM, we need more certified teachers, we need after-school programs, we need to bring in parents. The voices of parents have been lost in this discussion. What they told me in Queens and in the Bronx, they don't have interpreters, there's no individuals to assist individuals to navigate the public education system, there's no orientation for parents. All of these tools and more we need. And so to say that we don't need more money is ridiculous. I urge the governor to join me at all of the public schools that I have visited and to see what is happening on the ground.
And do you get the sense that the teachers are choosing to not teach in these communities a lot of times because of these challenges that you're raising? It's much easier to teach 20 kids than 40 kids, clearly, for any teacher.
Well, if you are going to be judged and evaluated based on a high-stakes test, of course not. And that's why to put everything on a high-stakes test as opposed to just a tool to evaluate where you stand, I think is wrong. And that's why so many parents are opting out of these high-stakes tests. And as you know, 2 weeks ago, we held hands all around public schools in the city of New York. And these are parents who are concerned about public education and what is happening.
I know, again, you're passionate about the education issue and getting resources, but there are bad teachers.
No question about it, and I'm not
here. Okay, so how do we get rid of all those bad teachers? Do you have, because I don't hear anything, it's great to support teachers. Right. I think they've been bashed enough. Yes. But how do we get rid of the real bad teachers? There's like bad cops, there's bad doctors, there's bad journalists.
And it's bad politicians.
And there you go. So the voters have they go to the polls, get rid of them. Right. And sometimes the feds take care of that in indictment. Right. Okay? Right. So, but teachers, what do we do?
But also, whenever you have a bad professional, you have due process. When you get arrested in the criminal justice system, due process. Right. When journalists get in trouble, due process. Right. Well, maybe not so because you're in the private field, and that's the difference between private and public.
We get our credibility bashed though pretty bad if we mess up.
The point is that we need due process, and I'm not here to defend UFT.
I understand.
And I'm not here to defend bad teachers.
No, specifically the bad teachers.
They've got to go, but we need to expedite, and we need more hearings. And we need more ALJs, administrative law judges, to administer and to afford them a trial and to do it expeditiously, just like we do in the criminal justice system. They call it speedy trial. We need a speedy hearing.
Well, certainly you're not shy about sharing your opinions. I'm sure the governor will hear your voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Public
much.
Advocate Letitia James from New York City.
Sí se puede.
Sí se puede.
Somos ahora.
Ahora, not el futuro.
Ahora.
I like that.